Today is June the 4th, 2019. My name is Tanya Fincham, and along with me is Alex Bishop. We're with Oklahoma State University. This is part of our Married for Life project, and we're in Stillwater, Oklahoma to speak with Bob and Madaline Harding. So thank you for having us today.
You're welcome.
Madaline, let's start with you. When and where were you born?
Wichita, Kansas in 1929.
And tell me a little bit about your parents.
My mother graduated from college in 1928, and they got married just before she got her diploma, and so she had us in 29. So right away she had twins. I have a twin sister, and she was not in good health, but she ended up having 5 children in 5 years. And so she was a busy mother and not really prepared for it. But she, to prepare herself for being a mother and a homemaker and everything, she had to take all kinds of lessons, which I always thought was admirable. She took cooking and sewing and just nutrition and all kinds of things. So we had an ambitious mother and father, and they taught us a lot about helping other people. And they have a famous family slogan, and it's "To thine own self be true." And the rest of that is Shakespeare, and the rest of it is "You will not then be false to any man." So that was our philosophy growing up. And the 5 of us, I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and the 5 of us went our separate ways most of the time as children. We got along fine most of the time. The boys fought a little. But we didn't necessarily, even with my twin sister, I didn't necessarily do everything with her. She did her thing and I did mine, and I was more of a homebody and she was more of a social butterfly when we were young. So, and I can remember when we were in grade school and some of the fun things we did. At that time, the teachers were just very, I think they were concerned about their students and what their students learned. And so I remember one time the teacher put paper all over the wall, and we were to depict some foreign country and by drawings. So we did that, and I chose Holland. And then I can remember we played a lot. We always had to go outdoors and play. There was lots of exercise when we were going to school. So we were outdoors a lot. And one time I threw my coat over the trash barrel, and while we were playing, the trash man came and took my coat, and I didn't get it back. so that's that was a real pleasant memories at Pershing School I went to. And then the other favorite thing was going to 6th grade. All the 6th graders went to one school called departmental. And there were just a few people that got to do that. And that was our first experience with going from class to class. But then we went into 7th grade at junior high, and 7th, 8th, and 9th was junior high. And then I actually went to a girls' school when I was in my junior and senior year, Mount Carmel Academy in Wichita. My dad got dissatisfied with our grades. And the one story that goes around about us was that we were twins and we divided our brains, so we only had half a brain. So Dad didn't appreciate that. So he decided, we had a very good friend in Wichita that was Mother's special friend, and she had gone to Mount Carmel during an epidemic, and so Dad wanted us to go there. And it was just a wonderful experience. It was Catholic, and so we got introduced to a different religion, and so from that I think that we've always been very tolerant of all religions. And how far am I supposed to go?
You're doing great.
I want to know, you said Pershing School. Where was that in that?
Arkansas City.
Arkansas City.
Yeah, Arkansas City, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
So
Were the nuns strict with discipline?
they were very kind and very helpful. I wouldn't say, I mean, they did read our letters. When we got letters from boys, well, they would read them before we got them. So one time, my favorite nun asked me if I was very serious about this boy. And it wasn't Bob. And I said, no, we were just acquaintances, really. I hadn't dated him or anything. And she said, well, I'm relieved. So I don't know what. It was a long letter, and there wasn't anything in it particularly that I could see that she would object to. But anyway, they were protective.
Well, did you stay on campus, or did you?
Yes, we
So you away
boarded.
from home?
Yeah, we were boarded because it was Wichita and we lived in Arkansas City. So my twin and I were together. So after that, we came home. Of course, it's during World War II. And so Bob came home, I believe, my junior year. And I had known Bob before. He was a good friend of a boy I was dating. And so anyway, we knew him when he went to the service, and he sent us gifts and things, and we sent him letters. And so when he came home my junior year, well, I didn't. Of course, I wasn't home much, and he was traveling, and he also went to school in Chicago. So, but I had a friend that was on the telephone board. Bill telephone. She called me up about 10 and said, would you like to talk to Bob? Then she tear up the ticket. And so I talked to him several times while he was gone. And then we got married in August the 13th. Friday, yes, it was Friday.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. And in 1948. Did we get married 48? Yeah, we got married 48. And so I had told him I didn't want to live around Arkansas City because my parents were pretty strict. So we moved to Garden City, Kansas, and had to live in a little trailer for just a short while, which wasn't very romantic. But Garden City didn't have many rentals. And so we finally found a place to live. But after we looked at lots of places, and we went to this one apartment that it was just a bedroom, and the bathroom was next to it, and the children were standing in the bathroom watching us, and of course no cooking utility or anything. So we came down the stairs and out the door and just died laughing. Wouldn't that be great? Newlyweds living in a one room with the kids watching. So anyway, we found an apartment. I went to work for a Singer sewing machine, and because I sewed a lot. I made all my clothes and my sister's clothes, or most of them, I should say. And so I went to work for Singer for a while, and then I went to work for Penny's for a little while, and they had an education program, and I went to that every Wednesday morning before it opened, and I got pregnant somehow. We'd been married about 2 years, and I got pregnant, and so we had our little girl in in June of 51. So let's see, from there, where did we go from there?
Well, let's back up though. How did you two meet?
We met through this boyfriend that I had.
Do you remember the specific day, or
no.
what was going on, or?
No, I don't remember. It was. I know that I was tall and skinny, and I thought I was not very attractive. and Leighton brought him over to meet me, and so we were friends then, for all those years. Well, I don't know how many years that was before you went to the Navy.
That was before I went to service.
Yeah, it was before I went to service, and.
So when you graduated from high school, was he your prom date, or he would have been?
Well,
he would have been overseas probably.
The school finally let us have a senior dance, which they'd never done, and they had the class invite a military school of boys come, but they let me have Bob. So Bob came to our dance, but there wasn't a prom.
Okay.
And so,
Well,
of
when
course,
you-
that was pretty formal. The graduation was pretty formal. So,
And when you say we communicated back and forth during the war, was that the two of you, or did your sister write him too?
I did Carolyn write to you?
Yes, not as often, but I got letters from her.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
As I say, we went our different ways, and probably didn't tell each other.
Did you look alike?
Exactly.
Did you look alike? So how did you pick?
It was hard.
How did you choose?
Did you ever switch on dates?
No.
I didn't. They picked.
They picked.
Yeah. Yeah, my sister had a boyfriend that was just so jealous of any boy that looked at her, and so even after they got married, he still just did not like anybody to look at his wife. But Bob wasn't ever that way. But let's see, Bob worked for a construction company, and I worked for Singer, and then he got a job with Haliburton. And so then we got transferred to Elkhart, Kansas, 1955. He got transferred with Haliburton, but Bob left them then not too long after we were there and bought a flower shop. And then we got talked into buying a department store. So we did those two things together. So
And where? Where?
in Elkhart,
In
Kansas.
Elkhart.
So we lived there 24 years, and then
What was the name of your
Harding's.
Harding?
Harding's
Yeah,
department store.
They used to tease us that we were Harding's City or something. Some of the people in the town, because Harding's department store, Harding's flower shop. so we worked hard there, and but when the oil field moved out, our business left with it, and so we came here, thinking we were going to retire, which we didn't. He finished his time out with the Postal Service, and then he had to work extra. I better let him tell that. But anyway,
Well, when did you move to Stillwater?
in 1990,
1980.
1980.
In
well, we
December of 79,
yeah.
we moved into this house. And the first day of January, we took over this house. So between Christmas of 79, New Year's Day of 80, that we actually settled in this house.
Okay.
So what's that, 39 years ago?
A long time.
There's going to be 40 years here before you know it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have the most wonderful neighbors. They're young, all of them are young. We're the oldest here now. But they had to pick me up in the ambulance one day. I passed out. And the neighbors all came out. And they followed us to the hospital so that Bob had somebody with him.
That's nice.
They are super. I mean, all of them are. We all visit a lot, and so that's really helped us because our family lives so far away. Sheila and Mike now live in Huntington Beach, California, and Danae and Tom are just now moving to Virginia, to Richmond, Virginia, where he'll be a professor teaching. What's he going to teach?
Commercial art or something. I don't know.
We don't know exactly.
He is an
Actually,
artist.
he's an artist, and he develops advertising for large companies.
Okay.
So he's done that for years, and that's where he made all of his money. So he decided to try being a teacher, and they took him. He doesn't have his doctorate, so he's with Virginia. Let's see, Virginia Commonwealth University. So.
You got some creative genes in him.
Very
Yeah,
creative.
So you have two children?
One.
One.
We have one daughter and her husband, Sheila, and Mike Luganbuhl, and then we have twin granddaughters, And there's their picture of them when they were younger. And they graduated. Let's see, that one graduated from Syracuse University, and that one from Indiana University. Sheila graduated from KU, and then got her master's at Oklahoma City University.
Okay.
So, and let's see, Mike graduated from Villanova University in Philadelphia. So I've got my little images around here. So I guess that brings us up to date, unless there's something.
Well, I want to back up. How had you learned to sew? Did your mother teach you, or a home ec, or what?
Mother had a treadle sewing machine, and so she made all of our little sport clothes when we were little people. And I asked if I could use it, and so she came down and showed me how to wind a bobbin. And then she got me some material, and I more or less did it, by looking at the pictures, and I learned how to cut out the pieces and how to sew them together. And so I had been sewing for quite a while when I went to 7th grade. So I guess in the 6th or 5th I started sewing. But I took sewing in the 7th grade, and it was, I don't know if you've ever seen these things or not, but there's pieces of paper that are marked, with lines. Well, we had to sew up and down those lines, and I made a terrible grade on that. And I just had to laugh because I had made all my clothes, and I thought it was really funny. We had to go in circles, sew in circles, and I was not very nice in that class.
Maybe that contributed to the shared brain.
Yeah.
Probably. The thing is, our shared brain, she got most of it.
I don't know about that.
She's we naturally aren't exactly alike, and she was better in a lot of things than I was. Very good at, really, I think, very good at business and handling people. She was executive director of the Red Cross here for 17 years. And some of the things she did for people just amazed me. I wouldn't know how to begin. And so we're a little different.
So in high school, did you have plans on what you wanted to do, like a career-wise?
No.
No.
Oh, wait a minute. I used to draw. I have an uncle that was a costume designer for Disney, and I did think I'd be a designer, clothes designer. Come to think about it, I used to dribble, make little dresses and things. I'd forgotten about that. But anyway, yeah, I sewed all the time. And when we got married, I wanted to get a sewing machine for Christmas. I told him I wanted a sewing machine. He said, well, I really need a gun so I can get food. So he got the gun for Christmas, and I got a sewing machine about that big. So.
And did you use the gun to get food?
He did.
I did.
Like what?
And I got her. Out there was pheasants and quail and ducks.
Okay.
But the pheasant season was big out there. And I got to use my gun.
But I got the sewing machine later that year.
Yeah, you got got a singer.
Yes, I got a singer sewing
You got a
machine.
singer.
Not too many months later, and he was the first to use it. No kidding. He did you work on a tea towel? I think.
Yeah, I think so.
He figured out how and showed you?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was a portable, and so, yeah.
It's been a team effort all along, hasn't
Yeah.
it? Sounds like. Okay, so it's your turn. Tell us when and where you were born.
Okay, I was born in Woodson County, Kansas, and March the 12th, 1926.
Okay.
And that is 100 miles straight east of Wichita, pretty close to Missouri. And we lived on the farm. Now, do you have another question?
No, just tell us about your parents. And your
Okay, my dad actually was born in that area, and his relatives. My mother was born in Illinois, just across the river from Terre Haute, Indiana. That was where she was from, her folks were from. And then she moved to Woodson County, Kansas, and they were married. And my grandfather gave had 3 boys. He gave all 3 boys a farm. And so all of my family was born on that 80 acres. And we had a pretty small house, wound up being 3 rooms, but it was just 2 for quite a while. And then what happened? You want to know what happened next?
Yeah.
On my birthday, March the 12th, 1936, we arrived in Albuquerque, New Mexico with a 29 Chevrolet, a 2-wheel trailer, a few beds and a few chairs, and 12 Leghorn chickens. And we lived there, and it was quite a change for me. You know, back in Woodson County, there was a hedgerow between our house and a 1-room school. It was just right over there, probably 100 yards from our door to the 1-room school, which all of my family attended. And I was in the 5th grade when we left that place. And when we went into Albuquerque, I went into a room with 30. There was 30 5th graders. We moved to the mountains, up Pecos Canyon, and raised horses. My dad rented horses and put up a little hay and dug potatoes and whatever he could find to do. And we, excuse me, in 1938, we moved back to Sumner County, Kansas, and I attended another little 1-room school and graduated from Johnson School in Sumner County, Kansas, which is just, 10 miles from Blackwell, maybe 15 miles from Blackwell.
Okay.
Just across. Went to Arkansas City High School, graduated, and I worked for a farmer. When I would go there in the summer, and for 3 years I would leave school and go out and just move in with that farm. He had 3 kids. 1 girl was my age, and the other 2 were younger, and worked for him for 3 months for $30 a month, $1 a day for 3 months. So after all summer, I had $90. And then I graduated from school, worked for him, and went to Wyoming. This was another one of the highlights of my life. I had a uncle in Wyoming, and his son was a prisoner of war in Germany, and he had a lot of cattle and hay to work. So I went up there in the month of February and stayed with them for a month. And that's 39 below zero. Couldn't ride nowhere. Okay, that ended, and then I went into service. And how much about service would you like to hear?
Whatever you want to tell us.
Okay, I went into the Navy, went to boot camp in Farragut, Idaho, went to OG unit in Bremerton, Washington, and was signed to the USS Yorktown. And I went on the USS Yorktown flight deck. My first sight of ever seeing an enemy plane was in the Philippines in October of 1944. Now, one of the unique things of my life, I hope I can tell you how. When the war ended, well, the carriers stayed outside of Tokyo Bay. And by the way, we lost some planes. After the war was over, we lost some planes to Japanese Zeros. They came out of the mountains and attacked at our planes. But that was beside the point. We pulled into Tokyo Bay, and I had duty, and the Liberty Bunch went in. And when they came back, and when we were out in the bay, so in order to get on Liberty, you had to go down a landing net and into a landing boat and into Tokyo. Well, when they came back and came up that landing net over the side, bunches and bunches of those guys come looking for me. So what in the world do they want to see me for? Even some I didn't know, and officers, gunnery officers that I didn't have anything to do with. Well, my sister and her friend, who was the sister of her boyfriend back in the good old days, were nurses. And when the war was over, they were sent to Tokyo to take care of prisoners. And so, when they knew, of course, it was announced that that was the Yorktown out there. And so my sister and a couple of her friends from Kansas, by the way, went downtown Tokyo, and here were all these sailors, and everyone they would ask, the Yorktown, they'd ask if they knew me or and blah, blah. And anyway, they came back aboard, and everybody said, your sister's in Tokyo, your sister's in Tokyo. Well, I got to see her twice. You have to go into the International Hospital and visit my sister at the end of World War II in Tokyo, Japan. Also, and this is kind of beside the point of everything, but it is what happens. Up in the second window of the International Hospital, there was a big window, and right behind that window was a desk. And there was a major woman, nurse, sitting at that desk. And she watched, and she made sure that me and my sister did not go out of the hospital area. And she said, no nurse of mine is going to Tokyo with a sailor. So, so our visit was at the hospital. I was discharged, attended JUCO for a year, 2 semesters, went to Corn Electric in Chicago, graduated from Corn Electric in Chicago. I wanted to be an electrician, that was my goal. But it didn't work out. It was something that I was not good at. And that reminds me of another tale, unrelated here or there, everywhere, is we constantly were taking tests. The Navy. And when you get out of the Navy to go to school, you had to take somebody was taking tests, and they told me that I needed to work for my hand. I wanted to graduate from college. Well, they said you don't have the ability, you need to work with your hands. Anyway, somebody told me that when you take those tests, don't write down what you think, write down what you think they want you. And so that has been my philosophy ever since. Is when I answer a question, I want to know why they want to know this. Whether I know the answer or not, I'm going to tell them what I think they want to know. Okay. And then we got married, and I went to work for Haliburton. Worked for them 11 years, went into a flower shop, and started carrying the mail as a substitute mail carrier. Moved here and actually got a job, got the full route at Glencoe. Carried the mail out of Glencoe for 8 years and retired. And in the retirement, I've done nothing very fish and go to baseball, and that's about it. We've took some interesting trips, by the way.
We've taken lots of tests.
Yeah, we've taken lots of, but that's about it.
But he used to do all the yard work and all the plumbing, heating, everything he did to the house, which we're now having to pay for. Come have help come in, but he worked all the time. He was always out and about, but mainly right now he's spending a lot of time on his computer, and he's good at that.
That's good.
And watching baseball on our TV.
Well,
we had baseball tickets for 35 years at OSU. Even had them this year, but I have a wheelchair, and so I went to 3 or 4 games this year.
Uh-huh.
But I'm very, very much under the care of a heart doctor. And my granddad and my dad died of heart trouble, so they didn't live near as long as I was lived.
They didn't have Madaline taking care of
Well, that's true. That's true. They didn't have her to come home to.
Well, what did you do for Haliburton? What was your job?
Interesting question. Because that is an interesting job. I had 5 different jobs, which were advancements all the way. I started out in the bulk plant, and then is Haliburton Oil Well Cementing Company. Then their major project was cementing wells. And so I got a pump truck driver, which involved the pumping of the cement. And then I made cementer, which was the overseeing of the cement job. And then I made drill stem tester, which is testing. You run a tool in the ground to simply put. Run this testing tool in the ground, expose that formation to atmospheric pressure. And if there's anything there, why, here it comes. And so then I got a special tool job, and I quit and bought a flower shop. But that Haliburton was a very interesting, very demanding. You know, it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because those oil field people didn't work. They just, when that bit got down to a certain place, well, then that, you know, they had to have it then, whether it was Sunday morning at noon or
Christmas.
Or any Christmas or New Year's, whatever. When they got to a point, they needed service, and they worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Anyway.
So how did you make that transition to a flower shop?
Good question.
Really, I don't know. It came up, the woman that had it put it up for sale, and I was definitely wanting out of Haliburton. We lived in Elkhart, and things were beginning to go sideways, and 2 or 3 things happened. And one of them was, and this is kind of odd, but it wasn't a deal with me. The guy that was moved in there and made field man, which he was over me, of course, but I was the highest work or what. And so he took me out, and we rode around and checked some rigs and so forth, and he wanted me to help him not work, but know the people. There were 17 employees, and he was wanting me to help him. And I thought, no, I'm not going to tattle on these guys that I'm out there as a tool man, and there's a cementer and a pump truck driver and a bulk driver, all of them out there on this job. And he wanted to know if anything went wrong, wanted me to tattle on exactly what briefly it amounted to. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. But anyway, I quit.
So was that a discussion that you two of you had, or you just come home one day and said, guess what?
No.
You didn't even know it, did you?
Uh-uh.
No, she didn't.
But you know, I did the same thing he did. When I was working at OSU, the assistant dean wanted me to tattle on 2 women that were in the office. And I just wouldn't do it. I said, you know, you're working with those people every day. You know their problems. And he knew their problems. And I wasn't about to tattle on. And it ended up really funny. But
It was the job with Haliburton was getting extremely difficult and strained.
well, and weather-wise too. I think weather was really hard on you.
Well, yeah,
It was
it was
cold
out
out.
there in all kinds of weather. And heavens, I was 30 years old.
When you say strain, did it put a strain on your marriage or family or?
No.
Well, what did you say? Did you say definitely?
No, I said no.
Oh.
Well, it was lonesome because
Yeah,
he was
it
gone
did.
sometimes
It
100
did
hours
put
a
a
week.
strain on Haliburton marriages. There was a strain on them
Yeah, there
because
was.
the wives were responsible for a lot of stuff. In fact, When we had a phone, she answered the phone. If I wasn't there, it was Haliburton phone. And, you know.
And yeah, that was not good. One night I took a call from a man and he was so hateful. And so I called one of the men to go out there, and the man was such an ornery guy. And he said, "Why don't you run out to
The VFW.
the VFW?" This was in the middle of the night, and I had a baby. And he said, "Run out and get one of those guys out there." I said, "I'm not going to do that, Dale Prather. You get on out there." And so he did. He laughed, but
Anyway,
so
there was
they didn't want to talk to women.
there was
those
a
little
strain,
people,
and
they didn't
and
want to talk to me.
But the women answered the phone, and
Yeah, and they didn't want to talk to women. I can assure you.
no, they didn't want to talk to a woman.
No.
Some
Very disrespectful.
Texaco guy in Oklahoma City called Elkhart for a job, and they talked to some woman. You know,
Yeah, it was not.
no, no. But that's what would happen. And of course, they would have to relay the message to get somebody blah blah blah.
Yeah, blah 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 was all about.
That's the reason it only lasted 11 years.
That's still a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good company. Also, I had the money to buy a flower shop.
Okay.
Working for Haliburton, they had a profit sharing plan, and so I had enough in my profit sharing plan to buy a flower shop. So I did.
Plus every raise you got, we put in Duncan, in the bank in Duncan.
But yeah, that's what. Yeah,
That helped too.
yeah. Anyway,
So you had to learn about flowers or just hire someone that knew about them?
I went to Cliff Mann Floral School in Denver, Colorado. I didn't know this much about flowers. But it was
I could get by, because I had a little artistic fling anyway, so I got by.
the
So you would
woman I,
make the arrangements?
I'd make the corsages,
Okay.
and he made good arrangements and also beautiful funeral sprays. I mean, his funeral sprays were really, really pretty.
the woman that I bought the shop from helped some, she was not all that anxious because she had everything. But anyway, then I went to Cliff Mann Floral School in Denver and really learned a lot about flowers and how to.
Well, we went to a lot of design schools.
Well, yeah, we would go to design school in Amarillo, Kansas City, Wichita. And,
Together?
oh yeah,
Go together?
yeah. She wasn't working in the flower shop then, except part time.
In the evening,
Yeah, in the
on the
evening,
weekends.
night.
Because you owned the department store at the same time.
No.
Yeah, not at first.
Not first.
I was in the flower shop 5 years, and the department store, it belonged to brothers. And one of the brothers had a men's store next door to my flower shop. And he was the majority owner of that department store. And so he arranged for me to buy half of that. He wanted me to be over there because his brother was leaving town. The store was in trouble and all. So he wanted me to do it. So I bought half of it. I owned half of it for 5 years. And after 5 years, I paid him off and became sole owner of Harding's department. And it was really, and I'm not bragging, it was really a nice store.
Wow.
Big, huge store. Nice department, shoe department, baby department, piece goods. And we used to sell piece goods like hamburgers. It was a great business. And it was a real nice store. It wasn't just one of these neighborhood junk stores. We had a store.
I'm trying, and about time period, what time period would that have been? What years?
60.
In the 60s?
Yeah, in the 60s.
In 70.
In 65. I bought the department store in 1965.
Okay.
And when I bought that store, there was 17 Haliburton families in Elkhart. 20 years later, there was 0 department Haliburton employees in Elkhart, Kansas. and the Panhandle Eastern Colorado Interstate, Haliburton, Johnson Testing, and 2 or 3 acid companies were gone. And that town
It was our business.
yeah, and that town was back to just hauling wheat in there to the elevator. That those oil field hands and buying their kids socks and boots and underwear and all was gone.
I'm just thinking it could have been Harding's instead of Walmart. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, you know, that's a thought. We didn't think about that.
It all happened at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I went into business about the same year Walmart did, and I had chances. 2 different times I could have expanded my store to Hugoton. I could have expanded my store to Johnson. People actually said, you know, we will put you in business here and put you. But the big thing, you can own 1 store, you can own 5 stores, but you cannot own 2. Well, I just didn't have the ambition and so forth.
And the money.
And well, the money was available if you wanted to just, you know, you could just sign your name and get the money, but there was the matter of paying it back too, you know, which Walmart, whatever his name is,
Sam Walton.
Sam Walton managed to do and put in good shape. But his county and his area was much more populated than around Elkhart, Hugoton, and Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway,
So was the decision to sell discussed, or did you just come home one day and say, I'm going to sell it and go?
the well, no, I think I pretty much told her
Yeah.
that
was
we're
time.
leaving here.
Yeah.
And so how did you get into the rural route mail carrier part?
Well, when I was went into the flower shop, and of course you knew everybody in the town, even with Haliburton, everybody. You were all trash, but everybody you were all trash.
But they were.
But everybody knew your name, and although the term was all trash, most all of them were very well respected in town. You know, they shopped in town more so than the farmers did. The farmers went to Guyman or Amarillo or something, but those oil field hands, like I say, they bought their gloves and their kids' pants and shoes and everything in the town. Anyway, and your question was?
How did you get into the rural mail carriers?
A guy that was a rural mail carrier had lost his substitute. His substitute was a minister, and he would so he stopped by the flower shop one day and wanted to know if I wanted to do it. And I said, "Oh yeah, I will." And it worked out fine in the flower shop because, you know, I had hired help and sometimes there's absolutely nothing going on, and so it was just a part-time job carrying the mail, but that's how I started. A guy by the name of Smith wanted me to be his substitute, and so I was. And so I substituted for 22 years in Elkhart.
And then when you moved to Stillwater, you continued that?
When I moved to Stillwater, I substituted for Route 2. And also, I don't know whether they were just hard to find or whatever, but I started substituting for 3 and 5. They were calling me to substitute here. Well, I had a chance to go to either Tulsa or Ramona. So I selected Ramona. You want to hear a story?
Yeah.
We went over to Ramona and went to the flyer to the post office, and I was in talking, and she went over into a grocery store and said that we were moving there. And you know, Gary Ward, the baseball coach here for years, his relatives all lived in Ramona. That's where he was from, Ramona.
It's a dump.
But the city marshal came in to the grocery store, confronted her, and said, "Do you have a job on the home in Stillwater?" And she said, "Oh yes." He said, "Well, you better just keep it and stay there." And she said it was kind of hard to take serious. Somebody had their pants unbuttoned, standing there telling you what to do.
Oh, he's scared.
Anyway, his name was Ward, Reuben Ward. He was I think a cousin of Gary's or something. Anyway,
He was
that,
scary.
and then
I had tailed it back to the post office, and I said, that man, and he followed me. I said, that man threatened me. And so we didn't stay there.
I stayed there
Yeah, a
2
little
months.
bit, yeah.
I rented a house and stayed there for 2 months, and then the Glencoe post office opened, and I bid on it. Of course, I had 22 years of seniority because just 60 days in Ramona, all of my 22 years became effective. I actually had been carrying the mail for 23 years when I left Ramona. So I had seniority over lots of people. So I selected Glencoe, which worked out fine. I enjoyed Glencoe.
How long was your route, distance-wise?
115 miles.
Every day.
200 and, can't remember now how many boxes there was. But it was a pretty long route. And there in Glencoe, there was only 15 miles of pavement. The 15 miles of the pavement. And a lot of it was just pure old mud. It was just a terrible route around Glencoe and back over here over, go out to the dump. One of the boxes was not too far from the old dump out there, you know. And then went clear on east, almost to Highway 18, on east to Glencoe. And a lot of it was just pure D mud. And in weather like we had, I'm thankful.
You had to deliver rain or shine or snow, didn't you?
You betcha. Yeah, they wanted their mail. And of course you couldn't always do it, you know, and I had 2 wrecks, and both of them with other vehicles. And then I was only 63 years old, but I just got scared and had in my 3rd year, so I just retired. I was only 63 years old, which most of them went on farther, but that route and things were changing. The Postal Service has really, really changed to what it was like when I was out there at Elkhart. You know, you just went out there and delivered the mail and that's it. Well, they get now to where,
Any interest in customers? Right from when you pick up any
this was another thing about the rural routes, and I don't think they probably swallow their teeth now. But then, about there at Elkhart, the rural carrier used to take bread or eggs or something. You know, there would be a note in there. Would you buy some bread? And here's some money, and just leave it for me when you come by in the morning. And another thing that I got involved in was some friends of ours and his parents, and so they would call the post office, and the Smith or I one said, "Well, would you check and see about that windmill?" You know, it was probably a couple miles from their house, and you just drove by. Well, if the water was running over, you went over and shut down, walked about 100 yards through the gate, and if it wasn't running or the wind wasn't blowing or something, you just ignored it. But if it was running over, we went over and shut it off. So, you know, that was just one of the services, or deliver bread or something.
But they left candy and cookies for you?
Yeah, oh yeah.
They couldn't take money, and once in a while somebody would put money and he'd have to give it back. So they could give him cookies.
Yeah, there was a woman over, you know where Eureka School is? There was a woman lived there in that house, and she left me money, and I just have to leave it back and say, I can't, you know, I'm not going to be responsible for money. You can leave me cookies or something that'll disappear.
Well, say you're working all this time, what would you do for fun?
We traveled a lot.
Even when he was like at Haliburton and with the flower shop, you still traveled?
Not so
somewhere?
much when we had our department store, except going to market.
Okay.
We had to go to market every 4 months. And what, hon?
That town had something going constantly. I was president of the Chamber of Commerce, master of the lodge, and worthy matron of Eastern Star,
Yeah.
and constantly, just 5 nights a week. You had to go here, duty here. There was something going on. There really was.
Yeah.
There was
and-
something going on.
Yeah, we were real active. I was worthy matron, and he was my worthy patron, and our daughter was a rainbow girl, and there was just a lot going on like that. We never were bored, believe me.
Yeah.
Besides running our businesses.
It wasn't just one of these, just you have to hunt something to do. You had to hide.
Yeah.
By the way, the cornerstone in the Morton County, what do you call it?
Courthouse.
Morton County Courthouse. Has my name and my paper on it. The cornerstone in the Morton County Courthouse.
They had one of these formal dedications,
So one
and
of
he was
these
master of the
days,
lodge.
if somebody ever looks in they'll not ever know.
Yeah, who's
So
Will Harding?
I was master of the lodge when the Masonic Lodge laid the cornerstone
It was
Oh,
very
yeah.
exciting.
of the Morton County Courthouse.
When we moved to Elkhart, the county courthouse was at Richfield, Kansas, which had nothing. I mean, you drove over to Richfield to pay your taxes and all that. There was no town there, but a few houses.
Well,
And-
the court in 1954, the courthouse burnt down,
Yeah.
and
They
so they
kept-
moved all the records over into the garage. They had a what's pulled up out there?
What?
They had a multi-corner, not corner, garage. And so they just moved all the records, and so there was no courthouse, and they moved some of them into Elkhart, and the others you had to drive up to Richfield and go into this garage to visit some of the county officers and so forth.
Oh, and they built a gorgeous courthouse. It's just beautiful. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
Bob was the landscaper for it, because he had the flower shop, and so he did the landscaping. And we look at it every time we go out there. There's no businesses in that town at all now.
Oh.
Well, I shouldn't say that. There's a grocery store, and there's a filling station. And, I think there's a drugstore out there. They have a beautiful hospital and retirement home there. But that's it. I mean, there's just nothing downtown. And there used to be all these stores. There was a wonderful shoe shop. There was a men's clothing store, women's clothing store, art department store, a donut
There was two
shop.
drugstores,
Yeah, two
two big
drugstores.
drugstores.
I mean, it was a self-sufficient little community. It has nothing there now. We were out for 4th of July a few years ago, and a girl came up and said, "Why don't y'all put in a department store again?" And I started laughing. I felt like saying, "You didn't support us when we were here." But anyway, it was a good life. We had fun.
Well, you owned a flower store, and being married, did he ever get you flowers?
I did. I got corsages. Mother's Day
Yeah.
and Easter. Everybody wore corsages back then. And,
Oh,
and
yeah.
funerals were
She always had-
huge.
She always had one.
Oh, I always had flowers. And
I bought her flowers this year for Mother's Day.
yes, he did.
And do you remember anniversaries?
Well, we've done all kinds of
Not
things.
so much.
No, not flowers.
Our 25th anniversary we spent in Honolulu, and our 50th anniversary we spent in Alaska.
So 75's coming up. What's
75, yeah, well, we
The
had-
70th we were in
Our 70th we were right here.
oh, that's
And we
right.
had
Oh yeah, we had a
had
huge
a-
celebration.
Everybody in the world showed up out there at the
90 people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
the whole family, and there's 14 of us now, Was 14? We have 14 now.
Yeah.
There was just she and I and a daughter. Now there's 14. And they all showed up out, plus a whole bunch. It was quite an elaborate affair.
So for the 75th, what are you planning?
Probably be in wheelchairs and if we're even around. Have wheelchair basketball game, I guess. But we have the best family. We really do. Our daughter always sees to it that we have something special. I was saying something about I was going to be 90, and I'm going to be, and my twin, and my twin's daughter is going to have a party for the two of us. And I thought, well, no big deal, you know, and so I was telling Sheila, well, it's really not a big deal. And she just came unglued. She said, what do you mean it's not a big deal? And so, but anyway, she and the girls will be here, but we're going over to my nieces, and we're just going to have a family thing because that party that we had in the summer, we had relatives galore here from all over, from California, from Texas, from Missouri, and Nebraska, and just all, you know, nieces and nephews, and have all stayed close to us even though their parents are gone.
Did they all want to know the secret?
No.
What do you think your secret is to being married so long? What's the secret to being married a long time?
Well, you said this morning what
Yeah.
you thought it was.
I was going to say, actually this morning, I said, I married above myself.
He didn't.
Her dad was mayor. Her dad was mayor of our city. And they also had a 1942 DeSoto, wasn't it? No, it was a Dodge.
Dodge, yeah.
It was not, anyway, it was kind of a fluid drive thing. And when the governor of Kansas came down, well, we took that Dodge out there so that her dad could bring the governor into town.
Well, what you know, when you first met her parents and you too, what were the first impressions that your parents had?
Oh, well, I really did love Bob's parents. They were just very sweet people, and his family. He had four sisters and
Four sisters and a brother.
And his sisters were just the two that are still living. They're just so close. They're just like my sister, even though I have two real sisters. But they're just like sisters. And then my brother's wives, you know, we're just all really, really close. But Bob's family I married well. You said respect, honey. You said what was,
Well, yeah.
you thought respect for each other
Okay,
was
okay.
this morning. It's what he said about our marriage. So,
Her dad was a character as such. And he sang. You know, he just loved to sing. And had some rather strange things. And of course, when I was dating her, and one Sunday to get ready for church, he would go in the bathroom, take a bath, fit his hat down over his head, pull on a shirt, pull on a tie, pull on his shoes and socks. No, not his shoes, just his socks.
yeah, underwear.
And come out without any pants on and walk the house to get to the bedroom and have everything, his jacket and his tie and his hat and his hair, perfect with no pants on. The last thing he did was put on, but he was a very happy person. Just a glad hander. Everything was just wonderful and tra-la-la. He was a nice person.
And did he like you?
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
think so.
Oh, yeah.
I think probably her mother in later years probably really took more to me than your dad did. Your mother really kind
My
of...
mother at first didn't.
No, she didn't.
She was one time he came in, well, I hadn't seen him for quite a while, and he was in his car and came up the avenue, and we had a sun porch, and there's a dining area and a family room, and he honked, and Mother said, "You will not go to that door until he comes to the door." So
Well, actually, I didn't work
Correct.
been baling hay, and it rained, and so I actually was in my brother-in-law's pickup, and I wanted to let her know I was in town. So I drove by her house and honked so she'd know that I was in, and I didn't stop, did I?
yeah,
Oh, did I?
yeah.
Well, anyway, we had a date that night.
Yeah, we had a date that. That's what you stopped at. Said we have a date tonight.
But anyway,
Did he come to the door?
Yes, he did. I didn't
Oh, yeah.
move from that family room.
And I was dressed terrible. Had no dusty straw hat,
He was.
bib overalls and boots and everything. I'd been baling hay.
Or where'd you go for the date?
I was
Heavens no.
probably to the show. Mainly, we went to the show. Well, we did play a lot of miniature golf, and what was the bowling thing?
Well, that was well. Anyway, it was a small bowling. What do you call it? Duck.
Duck bowling.
Duck bowl. Duck bowl. Yeah, they had duck bowling out.
We did a lot of that.
And we did
and
that.
The duck bowling was downtown. What did I just say? Crochet or croquet or whatever. And it was out in the country at the side of town.
Yeah, the miniature golf.
Miniature golf, yeah. But anyway.
Duck, D-U-C-K bowling?
Do you
I
think?
have never heard it.
I don't think there's any around here. That
That's
was.
the only one.
Think what year that was. That was 1948 or 47.
That's the only one I ever heard of. I think.
Yeah, that was. But you've heard of miniature golf.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, duck bowling, and it was just a small ball, and you still
Small
had.
ball and small pins and.
It was pretty fun.
Indoor?
Indoor.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
assuming.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember when Bob went off to war? When he went off?
Oh yeah,
last day?
yeah. He came by to see me before he went to war, and I put a note in his pocket that he never did see, but his mother did.
You know, when I got, well, went to Kansas City, was in the Navy and went out to Ferguson, Idaho, and your clothes were put in a package and sent back. Well, I didn't look in my pockets.
didn't look in
I
his
didn't have
pockets.
anything that important in my pockets. When they got back to the house and my mother unwrapped them, there was her note. And I didn't even know there was one there.
Did you
She
put
did.
something in that she would have?
You know, I'm not sure what I said because we hadn't dated, but he had been a friend, and I'm not sure what I said. Probably some nutty thing. I mean, after all, I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I graduated when I was 17. And
There is something that I didn't say that is rather important, I guess. The first time I ever saw she and her twin, and she was kind of dating. I don't think you had really started dating Leighton yet, had you? And her twin sister was dating another boy. Well, I went with them, and they were down at the swimming pool. And there were these two tall, thin girls in swimming suits came over to the fence,
skinny,
talked to
the
her.
rail.
And I always said she was the perfect 36, 12, 12, 12, you know.
And he told several people that too.
But that's the first time I ever saw her, was at that swimming pool.
Yeah.
And I was just with those other two boys, and they were dating or something, whatever you do in the 9th grade.
Yeah, go to Teen Town. We used to go to Teen Town,
Yeah.
but we rode
And
bicycles a lot.
Anyway, that's the first time I ever saw them.
And when did you decide to ask her for a date?
No. I had a date with her before I left for service.
Did you?
Yes, I did. And we
What
will
did we
not.
do?
We will not discuss it.
But it's one I'm thinking of. I don't believe you better.
Yes, I think it's one that. But that was.
You didn't stand him up, did you?
No,
Okay.
I slapped
Okay.
him.
But I did have
He was
I
gonna
think
get
I was,
friendly.
I think I was the only time though. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
I just had one.
Yeah, that,
And then
you wouldn't have dared. I slapped you so hard.
and then when they came home from service, why she and the girlfriend were in there was a drugstore that everybody went to. You know, there was the hangout there in Ark City. And we went in there, and she and the girlfriend were sitting in this booth. So my best friend Leighton and I went in there, and she was sitting on the closest one, and he started to sit down, and I shoved him and sit down.
It was funny.
Actually shoved him and sat down. that started it. That was really
Now that you were
that
wondering
was
about differences.
really the first act, really forward act that I made was when I pushed. You know, he was just starting to sit down. I kind of put him over and sit down.
That was after he came back from the service.
Yeah,
But you know, you were saying something earlier about the difference in that time and this time. We were more modest. The people I was around, the girls were more modest, and you didn't shack up with some boy every time or at all. I never knew of anybody that did that, and I would have insulted my parents like that either. But the times have changed so much.
It's 11:30 on Tuesday.
Yeah. That's one of the big change. I mean, one of the things that a little more subdued on your dating and all. I mean, you actually had fun. You did, you know. I mean, you entertained with, like I say, bowling or golfing or movies. Lots of movies. So
Etiquette was a little different.
it was a lot different, and men opened the door for you, and yeah, it was a lot different stuff.
Well, I want to know, as you dated and you started to court, how did you pop the question?
He didn't. He didn't.
I would not admit to that, but it is the truth.
He did not ask me
I
to marry. He
didn't.
told my mother that we were getting married in August. That was the first I ever heard about it.
Did you ever talk to her dad ahead of time?
No.
No.
I was with him some, and it kind of, I worked for him some. But anyway, I never did ask her dad. But the story back to her mother was when her twin sister got married, and she and I was in the kitchen of their house doing the dishes, and her mother came walking through there and said, "If you two ever decide to get married, I want you to give me 6 months in advance." And she said, boy, she's just raunching and funching about it because I'm taking care of her twin. And I said, "You have our notice." And that was it. 6 months later, we got married. No, actually, it was 8 months. 8 months later.
Yeah.
She said, "Well, just give me 6 months notice." I said, "Well, you have 6 months notice."
How did she take that?
I don't know. She just kept running. But she did. She immediately started planning, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, she immediately
Mother
started
planned our wedding. I did.
looking for material and everything.
Well, I told her, no, I designed my own wedding dress. So, you know, after the war, you just didn't go into a store and buy a wedding dress or buy material. And you could go maybe to a big city and get one. But anyway, I told her, I designed my dress. And so I said, I'm going to make my dress. So I said, well, Mother said, well, I'll go to Ennis's in Wichita and buy the material. And I said, well, I want embroidered organdy. And so when she went, of course, things were very limited still. You could only buy so many yards, you know. Well, she didn't get as much as I thought ought to be in the skirt, but it turned out okay. But anyway, when I got to working on it, the embroidery was roosters.
Oh,
It was just so funny, but she did a really good job. She found some French lace that was about that wide to go around. Let's see, I think I had it. Where did I have that? Oh, I had it around here, I guess. I had kind of a scoop neck. And of course, then you sleeves, you know, you didn't have any strapless dresses.
Well, do you remember your wedding day?
Oh, yeah.
What was that
Yeah,
like?
it was raining, and we had an outdoor
It was
wedding.
an outdoor wedding and it was raining.
And the florist came out and put artificial grass all along the side of the house and where we were getting married. And we had a beautiful patio. That was one thing. Dad wanted somebody to be married at home because he put in this beautiful, it was circular, it was all stone, and it was circular steps coming down. And then the patio was all laid really pretty.
Silverdale stone.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And so he wanted somebody, and then like this family room we had windows all around, and they brought out an organ, and our organist from the Presbyterian Church played, and the doctor that I went to played the violin. Claire de Lune was what he played. And then Dad walked me down from the front porch down there, and he just had me laughing. He was just so funny.
There was our wedding picture has peaches on the tree.
Behind us.
Really?
Yeah. And I wanted to be married in a church, and Rudge wanted to be married in our garden, but it reversed.
It was reversed.
Sounds like the church came to you.
Yeah, it did. The minister got to, well, it wasn't raining by that evening because it was an evening wedding. And, and I had, my sisters were my attendants, and they wore white, I believe it's dotted Swiss. I made them too.
I didn't show up for the practice.
Oh no!
Now, her dad had sent me over to Cedarvale with a load of beer. So I went over there, and they were all in the big stew because I wasn't there.
I came out the door.
At the practice.
Yeah, I came out the door, and mother had done it all. You know, she had had the dinner and everything made. And I said, "Do you suppose he changed his mind?" And
Anyway,
Dad didn't say a word.
Your dad never did tell you that
No.
about 5 o'clock he sent me
He
to
did-
Cedarvale.
No, he didn't. He didn't say
For a more
word.
important errand, probably.
Anyway, to extend that a little bit farther, I did make it back and we practiced and all. And her twin and husband, and she and I got in that Pabst Blue Ribbon truck and drove to Ponca City and went to a movie.
Oh my gosh.
And it was 12 o'clock before I got her back home. So actually I got to see her
On our wedding day.
on our wedding day before the wedding.
And you also got one more double date in.
Yeah. Yeah. And my sister was
But
married, she and her husband
we
were
took
married.
that, I drove that past, is a flatbed truck, big old 10.5 flatbed. And I drove it to Ponca City with 4 of us in it, and I don't have any idea what the show was, but we went to Ponca City, Oklahoma.
And we had a 10 o'clock curfew.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she was leaving home the next day, so
What could you do?
Did they wait up for you to get home?
didn't.
No.
No.
Did you have a honeymoon? Did you go somewhere?
No, not really. He lived out at Garden City, Kansas, and so we went out by train. And no, we didn't get our honeymoon till our 30th wedding anniversary when we
well,
went.
actually we went to Juarez. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking when I wanted to go on our honeymoon to
Niagara Falls?
Niagara Falls.
We went to our 40th.
It was our
Our
40th.
40th
Okay.
wedding anniversary, we went to Niagara
Yeah, so we
Falls.
finally got our honeymoon on the 40th anniversary. But we had a lot in between because 25th Hawaii and the 50th.
And we went to Juarez. We'd only been married 2 years
Yeah, we did.
when we went to Juarez,
Yeah, we
Mexico.
Our second, and that was our second anniversary.
That was our second anniversary.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, been married for 70 years. A lot of people, as you get married, they think about what love is. What is it? What does love mean at 70?
Well,
How do you define love?
Well, caring and I don't know. There's a little girl on the computer, and when they asked her that question, she said, "Love is dancing."
It's on that,
I don't know.
what's on that advertisement? That little,
The little girl that's a cripple.
yeah, it's on that.
She's in. Can't remember anything yesterday.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know. How you describe love?
well, I'm going to tell another salty tale. When I was seamanning, I had a driver from Missouri. He was a pump truck driver and I was his seaman. And he used to describe love. And no way in the world would I ever repeat what he described. But otherwise, seriously, I would not really know. But I did say actually this morning when I was telling her this wild tale, is respect. Really to love somebody, I think you have to have a deep respect for them as a person. Don't you? Would that, I don't know, that's just another word to look at, respect. But I think that's probably one of the really important things. I don't think you can think of somebody as being disrespectful and not respect their actions and all. I don't think you could love them. But now that's kind of,
I should have looked that up before they came.
yeah.
What is love?
Well, did your parents give you any advice before you got married?
No.
No?
My mother and I weren't real close, and she was a social person, and during the war, while they were out at the air base most of the time in the officers' lounge or something, they were sponsors, and it seemed like as we got older, my parents weren't around very much, and so I know when I took one course at OSU, I wrote a paper on latchkey children, and I said in that we were original latchkey children, and we were loved, and we had everything we needed, but our family, our father and mother were around, and we didn't have babysitters, and I never thought anything about it. For years, I didn't think a thing about that being unusual. But when I came back from Mount Carmel, I thought maybe I'd have a little closer relationship with Mother, and she just wouldn't have any part of it. But as she got older, she lived to be 93. Why she did begin to, be more affectionate. She was in a nursing home here when she was 90, and I went out every day, and my sister did too. She went in the morning, I went in the evening, and we got pretty close. And I was crocheting Afghans, and she said if I had one, I would like it to be all green. So for Christmas wasn't far away, so I was making these all for everybody for Christmas. So I made her a green one for Christmas. So, and she kept saying, I wish, she was a really good knitter. I mean, she'd made a beautiful dress for herself one time, knit it, and it was gorgeous. And of course, she was good looking, and she had a good figure, and so she looked pretty nice in it. And but anyway, she did get more down to earth after she couldn't play bridge anymore and go out with her friends and all. Why then she kind of started. I think she just had too much. 5 children at one time is too much.
All little ones.
I think.
One time, I was living at home when we got married. I'd already been in the service in Chicago and all, but I was living at my folks' house. And not too long before we were married, maybe, because we were out at Garden City, but we were in the house at Ark City at the time. And my dad was gone, and I was eating breakfast. My mother had fixed cereal for me. she never sat down to eat.
No.
When I was sitting there, she always stood up. And she stood there in front of me and told me some things about women, just a few things. And I just nodded, okay, good. And it was nothing that I didn't know. Or suspect. Or do. Okay, and that was about all knowledge.
Oh, I have to tell you about a course at OSU. It was no, wait a minute. Now wait a minute. Where was that? That was junior college. Well, that's when I was in junior college, Dark City. It was a introduction to the sexes, the difference in sexes, And so the teacher came in and had all these pictures, and ran out and left them for us to look at. And I tell you, we all just roared. It was so hysterical. She could not talk about that in front of us at all. So she let us decide for ourselves. Reproductive organs, and all. Wasn't anything in there that embarrassing. And here we were in junior college. So I just thought that was the funniest thing I ever saw. That's during the war we didn't have good teachers because all the men and women went off to war. And so we didn't have, in fact, a lot of the boys that were in high school, they would go as soon as they were 18 and didn't think anything about it, But anyway, I always thought she was so funny. Thought, oh boy, we really got an education there.
Well, if you had to give advice to a 20-year-old or a young adult today about getting married, what advice would you give them?
Well, I'd probably make sure that they wanted to get married. Are you sure you want to take on the responsibility of keeping a home and taking care of a man and having children? And then I would probably ask them or tell them that they need to have respect for each other and not argue and fight, discuss what the problem is and work it out. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to advise young people anymore. They don't know it all.
That's what I would say. I would just really hate to, because, the mistreatment of one gender against the other right now, I think, is rather common.
Yeah,
And I may be wrong, but it seems to me like a deep respect is just not there at all time. I don't know, but anyway.
Well, and this hate, with all this politics, the hate that's going on, this is hard for me to understand, because the person that is hating is not having a good time, and they're not happy, and so I don't know, I don't understand this new thing that we have to fight over politics and everything else.
Well, another thing, 15-year-olds are having kids that used to be 25 years old.
Yeah. See, now our twins waited to get married until they were, I think the one was 29 and the other was 33.
They both had a career.
Yeah. These are
before they got married.
grandchildren.
Yes.
Pardon me?
Grandchildren, the
Grandchildren.
twin grandchildren.
Those are our two grandchildren.
Our twin granddaughters.
And then we
both
had
had
6 great-grandchildren.
And all of a sudden, here
And
was
we
6.
have a Madeline. We have a little girl named after me.
Well, when your daughter was getting ready to get married, did you give her advice?
Oh, yeah.
Or words of wisdom or
He
whatever?
did, especially. He talked to her. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No,
And what I told her worked.
Which was what?
One time we were walking home from church, she and I, out there at Elkhart. We lived about 3 blocks from church, and we were walking home. And she was going to get married. She'd already, college was over, so she was home. And anyway, I told her that since Gary's folks, who she's going to marry, Gary's folks had been divorced, and both of them had remarried. So I said, that cuts your chances over 50% of what happened to you. And she always had this come back.
Yeah, but he's my Gary.
Yeah, my Gary. Okay. Anyway, but I did. I told her, since his parents had this problem, why, you have over a 50% chance of the same thing happening to you. And it did. Very quickly.
Yeah, he was abused as a child badly, and he became an abuser. So, it does carry through the families. And Bob tried to warn her, but
Well, we about raised him.
yeah, we tried to help him, but
We tried to help him.
we helped him go down to Panhandle State and thought, he would, with somebody helping him, maybe his folks wouldn't help him with anything. Or his mother was gone. She left years ago. But anyway, he didn't go to school. So they notified us that he wasn't going to class. So when he came home, first semester, I said, we're through helping you. We gave you a chance and you didn't take it. And he had a job for about 5 minutes, and then he'd get another job about. So, you can try to help
It
people.
was trying times.
Yeah, it was trying.
It was very trying time. From all aspects of my life, that was a very trying time. And that was the daughter, and she was at KU, and they were living in Topeka, and trying to keep them there turned out to be a problem that I could not handle. So
Yeah.
I went to carrying the mail. My store wouldn't support everything that was going on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, when history's written, what do you want it to say about you two as a couple?
Well, I'd like for it to say that we're happy and special.
that's it. That we get along just fine. There's no gripes. Sometimes I gripe them. Sometimes I gripe at things, and I gripe at politics, and
Well, I do
don't very
too.
often gripe at her because I don't dare. I won't have a cereal or an egg. I'll get some dry cereal in a bowl. No.
Well, speaking of that, did you two ever fight? Did you ever have disagreements as you were
Yeah.
through your
I
marriage?
think when we were younger, but I don't know that we ever fought.
I don't think we ever screamed. We did not ever scream at each other, I don't think. Sometimes
I don't remember any of them.
Sometimes we would walk off, you just turn around, or I would turn around and
Come to think about it, that's the way I handled it. If
Yeah,
I didn't,
she would
didn't
turn.
agree, I'd walk off.
Instead of just getting out of my face and screaming while she was, and I never did scream in her face.
No,
Yeah.
you never did get
I'm
rough.
leaving. I'm getting out of the circle. But there
That was
was.
when you were young.
I don't.
That happened once when you were young. That you walked off.
Yeah, I don't.
That was
I
kind of
don't
yeah.
think we ever
That
did.
was once.
As far as a fight, just screaming at each other or pushing. No.
We probably wouldn't have lasted this long.
No.
Yeah.
No, we were both too sensitive to, it was going overboard real quickly.
Did you think you would last this long as a couple?
Didn't they? Well, I knew we would never
I always
divorce.
said 80 years.
Yeah, he did.
When we were still going together before we were married, and it was coming on. I said, well, we'll just be married 80 years.
Right.
Of course, I knew it was a big lie. But that's what, we're going to be married 80 years.
Well,
Well,
you're less than a
well,
decade
you-
away now.
You're 93 and I'm 89, so we lasted 80 years. Our age.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Do you have any routines like you do when you go to bed at night or get up in the morning? Like, do you say anything in particular to each other, or just good night and see you in the morning, or anything?
You get a
in particular?
kiss goodnight.
You get a kiss.
Yeah. And I try to be real cheerful in the morning and say good morning.
Yeah, we, it's kind of a mutual thing. Just, okay, this is your day and this is my day, and we'll just go through it.
Now before we forget, before we start, you talked about being on TV or something on Sunday morning or something
On the road.
on the road?
There were twin boys. This is a story. There were twin boys on the Yorktown. Yorktown is a museum in Charleston, South Carolina. And they were on there, and my sister, the younger sister that's still alive, lived at Winfield, was visiting with her family. Some of them lived in Georgia. Anyway, they were over to Yorktown. And she said, my sister said out loud, that her brother was on the Yorktown. Well, these twins overheard her. And so here they came, and they were, I think, 11, 10 years old, like I said, at that time. Well, here they come racing over there, and we just got all excited. Her brother was on the Yorktown. And is not the nurse, this was a younger one. So they won my email, and she gave them my email, and they emailed me. Well, at the next, I think it was at the next annual reunion, they didn't tell them that I was going to be there, but their parents took them down there, and the dad, of course, was arranging. He had worked for CBS, and so they were bringing his name is Scott Hartman, who took over for Charles. And he was down there, and so they kept us apart, and I had 2 interviews, and then we went into what they called Admiral's room there on the Yorktown, and set us down, and then they brought the boys in. I'd never seen them, and they'd never seen me. Well, one of them recognized me immediately because of the pictures. Anyway, we had a big to-do for several hours aboard the ship. And it was filmed on the road. On what? I think twice. It was filmed on a Friday night and on a Sunday night on the CBS network. Of On the Road on the CBS network.
But the main thing was that these young boys were just absorbed with World War II. And that's what they wanted to talk to him about. And they would ask him the most interesting questions. I mean, they were really into it, World War II was really something to them. They're still writing to him. And they're 15 now.
Yeah,
and still writing questions about how did you act when the World War II.
But it was quite a few people here in town saw it. They knew, and even some people like we knew out of Elkhart. Well, I never heard from them since we moved, and they called us and said, "Oh, we saw you on TV on CBS on that program On the Road."
That's something to put in your journal or your diary.
Oh,
yeah, there's lots in there.
I have more pictures. If you want to, I'll show you.
Is it straightened up?
I'll show you their picture. Well, no, it's filed. If I straighten it up, I won't know where it's filed.
Organized chaos.
Yeah. I know where it's filed now.
That's right.
So what prompted you to start keeping a diary?
You know what? I've always been kind of interested in writing. I had an uncle, my dad's younger brother, was a newspaper writer. He wrote for a newspaper. And it was kind of a thing, that I admired. And I never did write very much. Another salty tale, when I was in JUCO up there and taking English literature, I'd send these great, wonderful things into that woman who was a professor, and she would come back and there'd be red mark, trite. But I was still interested in writing. And so that's kind of what I did. And from another story, I just informed. On the 1st of January of 1994, I wrote down what started a journal that every day I was going to put a happening in my life. And I called it Countdown to 2000. And the reason I started it in 94 is because there's actually 6 years. Every day for 6 years, I wrote something about that day and about the Navy, about when I was a kid, all this stuff I have written down, but it isn't in sequence. Like maybe on the 4th of July, I wrote about when I was a kid in Morote, New Mexico or something like that, and then the next day I'd write about a baseball game. And so it's all, she knows. Anyway, that's what kind of started, and then after 2000, well, then I just continued it, and but I published. I had printed 6 books, 12 volumes. I printed them out and had them took them down to Staples and had them made into books, and give them to my sisters and all. And that kind of. I also wrote a novel at the same time, but
You haven't finished it.
I haven't finished it. It got sidetracked. Anyway, that's kind of what interested me in writing, and I just thought, and right yesterday, I had looked back on June the 3rd, and sometime 5 or 6 years ago, I came in that door right there, come over there and kicked off my shoes and took off my coat and was going to put it in that door, and that door was open. And I fell backwards, knocked that door off of the hinges, and it went down and broke a candelabra on that beauty case there. And that was, I think that was 5 or 6 years ago yesterday. Well, it's kind of interesting to me to think that, well, on the 3rd day of June, that was the day that I broke the door, just fell back and broke that door off of the hinges. Just broke it clear off and it fell down. But I wasn't hurt. I fell twice and got hurt, but I wasn't hurt that time. I've been in the hospital twice with hurt.
This last year.
Broken hips.
Broken hips.
I spent my birthday in the hospital, and then I spent this past Christmas, in the hospital in Baraboo, Wisconsin. I spent the whole Christmas vacation in the hospital.
And were you with them?
Oh, yeah.
That's the home of a circus, isn't it? Baraboo, Wisconsin. There's circus.
It is.
So about how long do you spend doing the diary a day? 10 minutes?
5 minutes.
Oh, 5
minutes or less, yeah. I just do it before I go to bed.
And handwrite it, or are you typing it?
Oh, no, strictly. I handwrote it for years and years. And I used a regular, a journal type thing, that you could just buy. And I think I have about half a dozen of those. But then I got lazy and just put it on the computer, and every month print it out. So.
And what's fun about that is he can go back and on today's date, he can tell us what happened 10 years ago, what we were doing.
Oh,
and that's really fun.
30 years ago, I can tell you what happened.
Well, yeah, you have it for way back, but
Yeah. But I don't have it on the computer, it's all on.
But that is fun. Did we do that then? Well, has it been that long?
Helps with recall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you can write something about us today.
you betcha.
It will.
It will be.
He will.
This was definitely one of the.
You won't have everything about us, but he'll have
I
everything
have
about you.
3. I have an AM, a PM, and a night. If I get up late, get up raining or whatever, and then if I take a nap, which I always do, and then in the evening I watch baseball or watch TV or something. Boy, it's exciting.
Does music come into play any? Like, do you have favorite songs, or did you play the piano or anything like that?
I
Nothing,
don't
no?
do any of that. I used to sing, but but he plays the
Music.
guitar.
Now, music was very, very much of my life
Right.
until I went in the Navy. Because my mother played the piano, my dad played the fiddle. He didn't play the violin, he played the fiddle. But my older brother and older sister played the violin in the high school orchestra. And I played the guitar, and I never did go beyond chording. You know, I just couldn't make, but I really was, and I'm a good chorder. I knew the chords, and I could play them, and my dad would play the violin and mother piano, and I would chord with them. Also, when my sister was in nurse training, and this girl that I was telling you about, it was her boyfriend's sister and this other girl, with a trio. And so when I was a senior in high school, they weren't the Andrews sisters. If you've ever heard of the Andrews, they were good. And they traveled around, you know, quite a bit. Well, I played the guitar for them. And I also played the guitar in played the violin in the junior high orchestra. But I didn't develop.
What seat were you in? What seat were you in? The one, number one?
Yeah. No, I never did develop it. Then, you know, it just, I loved to chord with the guitar. And, you know, there was lots of songs. Back then, my dad played the fiddle, and he'd play those fiddling songs, which were very easy to chord to. And my mother was an accomplished pianist. She was good. And, but she still could play You Are My Sunshine, or On Top of Old Smoky, or something like that, you know.
Did you have a favorite?
No, not really. Now, really, as far as courting is concerned, and I did have a favorite, and that was courting to my father playing San Antonio Rose. And probably a lot of people don't realize that the song San Antonio Rose actually changes keys in that, you know, in just the song itself. Well, you have to change keys, and I always just thought that was great. I would play in B flat, and then all of a sudden Dad would be over in F, and then I'd go back to B flat. And I really enjoyed that. And he's pretty good at it too. He could play that San Antonio Rose. And they could sing.
My dad and my twin sister and I used to get in the kitchen and fix meals and sing together. Dad was a really good tenor. And I sang alto, and Carolyn sang soprano. And so we did that some, not a lot, but Mother didn't like music at all. She got kind of left out with the music part. She played the piano, and they had the piano in our back room for a while, and all of a sudden it was gone, and I thought, oh, I get to take piano lessons. Nada. But anyway.
Well, did the three of you have a favorite one that
Well,
go to?
the last one I remember singing was Mount Carmel, Mother of Mount Carmel, which was our theme song at Mount Carmel. And we sang that all the time. I can't remember what else that we really harmonized on, but that was one.
I guess nowadays, if as much sports as you watch for OSU, you know the alumni
Oh yeah.
alma mater,
Yeah.
the alma mater song. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how long we've had tickets to baseball, just for years.
Over 30 years.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to make sure you get to see a game in the new stadium.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope we do. That we did go 3 times.
You know what T. Boone Pickett said about people over 90? Don't buy green bananas. And so I remember that, you know, I'm not going to plan until next spring because I don't even buy green bananas.
I did that yesterday. I bought some green bananas.
I noticed that.
Because The bananas get too ripe before we get them eaten. In fact,
But it is, well, it is about over. No two ways about it. And so that new stadium is very interesting, and I do plan to see it. But my plans are not always what happen. And that's that kind of the way that is.
It is.
'Cause I'm 93 years old.
Well, we've covered a lot. Anything else you want to say before we close?
I don't think.
I do want to show you my office, and that's it.
Anything you want to say to each other for the record, on the record?
Did you lie?
No,
I didn't either.
I love you.
I told a few wild tales, but I didn't lie about it.
You would do it all over again?
Sure.
You'd
Yes.
get
Oh,
married
yeah.
all over
I
again?
think so. There's some of the things that I would not want to go through, and one of them, actually, the first 22 years of my life, I wouldn't have it any other way. And yet, the next to the youngest child, fifth child of 10 people, my parents, and 8 people, my parents, and 4, 6, 7. Anyway, living on an 80-acre farm in the 1930s was not great.
No.
Moving to Mexico, and New Mexico, and school. I did not like school. I did not like school. And I actually could say I hated the Navy. I just did not like the Navy. I was proud of the uniform and spread around and all, and tell sea stories, blah. But then when it settled right down, I don't like this. I wished I was back in Kansas. But anyway, that, I have some things that I, would not necessarily want to go through. But it was tough back, those first 22 years of my life was tough. If I wasn't up and out of the sunrise and still out of the dark, or having kamikazes come at me or something all the time, and it's not nice. It's just not the way to live that I did.
And you survived, and you lived to tell the tale.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you very much for talking with us today. It's been great.
Well,
Yeah,
thank
well,
you.
Thank you.